start. So I will call the meeting to order. And call for an approval of our last minutes dated February 18th. Get it. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Thank you. This meeting is called specifically for the review of health insurance benefits for the city that the city provides to its employees. And I need to apologize to the committee for failing on last night's meeting. That was my fault.
I know I complained. It wasn't to make you feel bad. It was just
You
that
can
we
make
did
me feel
Peterson's thing in Draper and I had a home arranged and the whole thing, somebody else's home. And then I realized I had a meeting on Wednesday, so I made him push it to Tuesday and we could only do it at 8:30. So I was like, hi, can we come and use your home on Tuesday instead and not till 8:30? So it was a thing, but
well,
it was just my life. It's not your fault. It's just my crazy life.
It's my sincere apology, and I only have one thing to blame it on, and I would call it seniorism.
It's okay.
It
It
just
worked out.
totally spaced I just spaced it. I did that on one other meeting, and I sincerely apologize.
It actually worked out because it gave Aaron a little bit more time to do a little more legwork. So it was okay.
I'm definitely much better prepared today than I was previous days.
Yeah.
Well, we're grateful for that, and I have a question to start out with. And this is nothing against you, Chris, but where it involves you, and in a public meeting like this, I'm wondering if some of the discussion you should be excluded. So I would have to close this as a public meeting and put it as, what do you call it? I'm not sure.
Just a closed session.
A closed session,
Mhm.
and then we can bring you back in, Chris.
Yeah, that's
Is
fine.
that
I don't know if committees have the executive session power, do they, Jody? I think that's reserved for councils, but I'm not 100% sure. Just throwing that out.
You can just make it so your internet connection is struggling for about 20 minutes.
That's not a problem.
No, they can go offline and discuss it. So they do, as a committee, have ability to go offline and discuss things.
I just get
And to the-
concerned with conflict of interest, and I don't want the city to come back on us saying that we didn't address a conflict of interest.
Not a problem at all. I just want to make sure that you can, if you are legal to hold an executive session. If not, I don't mind jumping off and just somebody text me if you need me back on.
I don't know. I don't have an answer on that.
Jody's thinking. She usually knows everything.
You wouldn't, well,
It's not a decision-making body as far as nothing can be set in stone. It's an advisory committee. That's my only thought. Once again, I don't mind jumping off, but I just don't want to get in trouble. You guys get in trouble if we hold an executive session and people want the records.
It's not about not letting the general public hear the discussion. It's just about excusing any interested party from the discussion while we're having it. And I think it'd be perfectly fine for Chris or Ted or Toby to watch the meeting after the fact. I don't see a reason it needs to be a closed session just during the discussion.
But I know that anytime again, city council is different, but anytime it has anything to do with any of the employees, we do go to closed. We don't talk about it for the public to be able to hear. Because you're talking about money and costs for it's an employee issue.
Well, and I guess there will potentially even be discussions about employees, family members, and their health that we know socially, but the employees may not want the city at large to be able to know about their family.
wouldn't that be a HIPAA violation in a sense?
That would be a violation.
Violation in that we know socially, not from CARE.
I know, but it probably shouldn't be discussed in a meeting that's recorded. We probably want to be careful. As a committee of the city, we probably want to be careful discussing any health.
We're
Use-
just discussing it.
Use caution. That's all.
Yeah.
Well,
you-
'cause we're
it-
discussing it as far as
You
how
could
it
say
affects
if
prices, right?
or what happens in this scenario or what if we have this or that. I just don't use direct names.
Sure. Okay.
Well,
Everyone,
everyone in
how
the
does the
doc-
committee feel? I'll defer to the committee on this as a whole. And how does the committee
I
feel?
would think we ought to be more careful. I don't know that we'd be probably more criticized for having more information publicized than less. Is that better? The light came on. I didn't turn it on when it came in. So, and let me just repeat that. So I think we'd be better off not have Chris step off and have it be a closed meeting. Just, we'd be criticized more for having him in the meeting for conflict of interest than we would be for having it, in my opinion.
Aaron?
I did a quick search and it looks like appointed committees can, according to the Utah Open Public Media Act, can hold closed sessions to discuss character, competence, and health of an individual, strategy discussions relating to collective bargaining, pending or imminent litigation, security measures, or real estate. So in my quick search, it does look like you guys as an appointed committee can hold executive sessions. Is it on the agenda?
It is not.
Then you cannot do it.
It is not, but they can, we've gone into closed session before, even if it's not on the agenda. We don't
I-
have just going into a closed session as long as we have a majority vote.
Oh, cool.
So as long as a majority of the voting members that are part of the committee or council vote to close the meeting, because there may be times where we don't always post on our city council agendas that we're going to go to closed session because we may not have anything come up until that day. And it is something that needs to go to the council and then we'll call a closed session. But you
Yeah,
have to
from-
you have to call for a vote and you're going to have a majority of the voting members, which would mean you're going to have 2 out of 3 because I don't know if Janet's a voting member.
I'm not, but I'll take the heat if we're not supposed to do it. That,
Open Public Meeting Act says, no, you may not hold a closed session if it is not on the agenda. If it's on the agenda, 2/3 of the members have to vote, still have to vote to go into closed session.
So we can't do it if it's not on the agenda. That's what-
Yeah, so like I said, I don't mind jumping off, but if you are going to talk about health, you got to be really careful so you guys don't liable yourselves for anything that might be said.
it gets sticky.
How do you feel, Aaron?
I'm fine talking about health in just generic terms if there was a employee or family member who had health issues. Because there's only one person that I have personal knowledge about. I don't know about the other city council member, I mean, the other employees.
Well, in discussing these benefits, does that even come into play?
Yes,
Yeah, it changes the prices.
it changes the rates.
I'm not sure on group plans. It affects it as much as it does on individual plans. I haven't, but I haven't seen that lately.
Part of the discussion is what type of benefits would we elect? Well, that depends on which ones we're going to do just a generic risk pool grouped or individually rated plans that require health questionnaires, because we've got a couple of those different proposals. But we
Yeah,
can
because
just
no
stick
underwriting,
with fix.
no underwriting is done on group plans. Health questionnaires aren't filled out,
No, that's
so
just
there's
a
no underwriting done on those.
risk.
Is that public information?
Yeah, this is from PEHP.
Well, and I think we also know that United Healthcare Plan also requires you to do a survey before you can go on them as well.
United,
Yeah,
They want a health questionnaire or just the survey of employees?
Health questionnaire.
proposals that we got, both United and Aetna, were based upon the health of the employees and the family.
Yeah, Aetna, yes, yeah, you're right on that one.
So you can't rely on these until you go through the health questionnaire. So I proposed to him saying, well, what if some employees had X, Y, Z health conditions based on what I think, or just make up and say cancer, whatever else. And they said, oh yeah, those types of things would instantly jack your rates up. So I'm showing you best case scenario rates, but as soon as we know that we have some health issues, then those rates are no good. And those are going to jack up.
Did you speak with January? Is she going to require health questionnaires? Is that what you said?
see here, January is
PEHP.
No,
Yeah,
PEHP, I haven't spoken with January, but from all the documents that I read, there was no indication of any health questionnaires.
So January is a person, not a month.
Yes.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, sorry. And then I believe when I came on to Select Health and when the employees fill out Select Health, I don't believe there's a health questionnaire there, but I could double check the paperwork I just sent to one of our employees last month.
Correct. I didn't see anything in the Select Health documentation that there was any health questionnaires. That was also a risk pool, but it's clearly age banded, and the more kids you have that get older, then the more expensive the plan gets. And so that's
Yes.
where employees are having different rates from the other, as opposed to just simply, this is a family plan because there's more than two people on it. So we found that out going.
Yeah, age banded rates are on all of them, I believe.
And it's hard to have Chris get off because I know he knows a lot about it, but I do agree with the conflict of interest concern.
And I do too, just so you know. I just want to make sure you guys don't get in trouble for doing something but you're just making a recommendation. This isn't a body that's making a decision. So, I mean, if you get your hand slapped because you made a recommendation to the mayor of X, Y, or Z, and then from what came out of an executive session, I don't.
Well, and I mean, my idea would be that we'd give him 2 or 3 recommendations, that he could choose from, right?
Well, and I guess the learning point here is when it comes to the actual city council agenda, where the decision will be made, put on the agenda that there will be a closed session at that time, where then you can talk about the things that we are just talking about now, but do it in the proper, fully executive session.
Okay.
I wanted to have this is what Jody has of learning what other city corporations do, municipalities do for their employees. I think that's really critical. Do you have that information, Jody? Would you be willing to share?
I do. So, Manti, Far West, Midvale, and Salem cover their employees 100%. Manti and Far West also cover family at 100%. Midvale, however, covers the employee only at 100% and the family at 90%. Payson does only 90% medical, but they do 100% dental. So that was kind of interesting. Cottonwood Heights is only 85% medical coverage. I asked the question on, is there one plan that they like better than the other? And most of them all have astounding PEHP. That seemed to be what came across the board. And as far as deductibles, Salem was the only one that I found that had a plan through PEHP that didn't have a high deductible. So the other ones all have a somewhat deductible, whether it's maximum out of pocket 3,000, 9,000 a family, 3,000 of an individual. But with PHP, of course, their office visits are covered at like $35 an office visit. And they said 25 for prescriptions is what they seem to be paying.
We have PEHP and we have a high deductible, but we also have an HSA.
Is there HSA with
Yes.
those cities that are being covered?
Yes.
I would think that that's one of the reasons they went to the 3,000 is to qualify for the HSA option.
Just to share here while we're talking about it, the PHP documents that came through PHP, so you can see the various.
Did we get that or do you have that?
Tim was the one that forwarded this to us, or
January did. I
January
didn't get
sent
it.
it to us. And I
Okay.
think we were all on it.
Was I on that too?
I didn't see it from anything from January, but maybe I did. Just
Because
missed it.
I'm asking because if this is something we recommend or whatever, I'll have to have all this council.
Yeah,
I'm not going to remember it all.
that's right. I can email them to you if you say, I don't think I've got that. I haven't seen that.
I'll go look.
I just sent it to her.
Okay.
So there's a lot of plans. These ones here on the top, these are traditional plans. And then down below here, these star plans These are all high deductible, and I say high with air quotes around high because it ranges all the way from $1,600 up to $3,000 on the individual. But they're not catastrophic level deductibles where you're, like Ted was telling me that in his previous employment, their deductible was $8,000 for the individual and $16,000 for the family. That would be a really high deductible. Whereas a $1,600 deductible, it qualifies under the Affordable Care Act as a high deductible plan, but it's not.
Is that per individual?
So it's 1,650 is the individual deductible and 3,300 is the family deductible. So it's an embedded deductible.
So let me ask I know this is a dumb question, but so husband and wife, they're not, they're not family,
They're a two-party plan.
right? So is that 3,300, would that be the two-party plan or would it be plus the family?
So the first person, whoever it is, has the fastest run up on their expenses, hits the 1,650, and then the whole family combined, whether that be the other spouse, well, sorry, say the rest of the family all together adds up to the grand total. So for example, in my family, I hit the deductible every year with my diabetes, but the rest of my family then has various other things going on. And so sometimes as a family, we hit our full deductible. Some years we don't.
So the two-party is equal to the family.
As far as deductibles go. The premiums are lower
That was
because there's
my-
only two people rather than more than two. And a family is just anything more than two.
Yeah, thank you.
I did get that email, by the way.
So
I just didn't
the,
scroll
the,
down far enough.
the advantage to higher deductibles obviously is lower rates.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's some other advantages that come into a high deductible health plan as well, is because it pairs with an HSA. And an HSA can be a way to help offset some of the deductible expense, but it can also be a really great savings tool. In fact, it's the best tax savings tool there is because it's a triple tax benefit. The money goes in tax-free, it grows tax-free, and it can be taken out tax-free. So HSAs are really, really cool.
Do we
And it
offer-
follows you. It doesn't.
Do
it
we
doesn't
offer
stay.
HSA here?
Not currently. Currently.
Yeah,
everybody's-
yes, we do. Ted and Toby are on HSA right now. The HSA for my plan was $300 higher than the other one. I prefer an HSA because you already know how much your maximum out of pocket is going to be that year. If all heck breaks loose,
So
it's a much better plan.
say, does the city do a match on it?
They can.
Can, but currently as far as I'm aware, it's just the employee can put the money in.
So we have the plan in place so that the employee can choose to.
On Select Health, on that one that we currently have, we may.
I don't think
So you could do an HSA or an HRA on those.
you can't have an HSA without a high deductible health plan.
1,600 or 1,650 this year's the lowest deductible to qualify as an HSA.
Say that again, Chris. Sorry, I missed that.
To qualify for an HSA, the plan has to be the smallest deductible you can have is $1,600 or $1,650, I think, this year.
2025.
Which is how these plans are designed. And the
Yeah.
current plan that the city employees are on is a $750 deductible. So it is not a
Yeah.
high deductible health plan. There's no HSA.
What?
currently.
Sent us a
So Toby and Ted are on the HSA. I'm the only one that's not.
So under this, that you're showing us here, Aaron, the top traditional plan and the star plan below it,
Tell Chris you don't have an HSA.
No, I don't have an HSA.
they would
No, the city-
qualify for, so they would qualify for an HSA plan on those top two.
Well, all three of them.
So not the top row, but the bottom two rows. These are all high deductible health plans that you could pair with an HSA. You don't have to offer an HSA with a high deductible health plan, but it's often a good strategy.
And you don't have to match. The employer doesn't have to.
Yeah, the employer can do what they want as far as contributing to that HSA.
Match or contribute.
Well, in my opinion, this is my opinion, is that probably a good recommendation. for us to make is to make sure we're offering an HSA. Because it doesn't really cost the city any money and it benefits the employee.
It does cost a teeny bit.
Yeah, there's a little bit of premium jump.
Well, are you talking two things, Mike? Are you talking, so there's the HSA health plan and there's actually the HSA savings plan that Aaron was talking about. You can put money in, it can grow tax-free, you can pull it out tax-free. Employers can contribute a certain amount to that, or employees can contribute a certain amount to that. That's autonomous from the actual HSA health plan. There's two portions to an HSA.
The terminology is a high deductible health plan and an HSA plan. There's not an HSA health.
Yeah, we just have an HSA. We can save it, it rolls over, but we can also use it for medical.
You'll have an HSA if you have a high deductible plan.
Yes,
And
we do. We
that's-
have a high deductible.
That's what Ted said. I just confirmed with him and he said he would prefer an HSA plan. And he thought but they started their own HSA instead. So they're only getting a little bit, but
See, and he wouldn't qualify to start that plan if he didn't have a high deductible health plan. I'm trying to find the current rates here.
You can't have your own HSA. It has to be in association with the high. He has a flexible spending.
Yeah.
Instead of an FSA.
Yeah, that's much different. Under HSA, my understanding, in order for those funds to be tax-free, has to be spent on medical.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, if you pull the money
of
out,
the fund, then you have to pay.
then you have to
tax
pay taxes. That's
on
right.
your income.
Yeah, because
And you use,
I actually was getting taxed on it because the person that was doing my taxes never asked me that question. And it was all used for medical. And he never asked me the question, are you just spending this money? You know, you get the statement of how much came out of the HSA. Anyway, so yeah, I do know that for a fact. So this last year, I actually got a refund because we actually got it corrected.
Good.
Okay. So what do we need to further talk about here? Are these,
Well,
this,
Let's
at
have,
what point are we saying we're having just generic discussion that it's good to have Chris part of versus talking about specific things where there's the conflict of interest?
well,
we're probably,
that's what I thought. the
I
committee
think
had.
we're not gonna be able to we need to probably just be able to dig in and do it. I think we need to have him jump off so we can dig in, or we're gonna kind of be sitting here and floundering all night, aren't we?
So we have to call for a motion on this, I assume. So
Well, it
I-
sounds like, well,
unless you want to be able to have the conversation for the public to listen to, for people to listen to later. And Chris and Ted and I are out of this room and you go ahead and keep having your conversation and then go about that way. It's
I
totally
Feel
up to
like
you.
you know enough, you've dug into it quite a bit that you can help with everybody?
yeah.
Okay. All right, so let's do that.
And again, we're not making decisions. We're just coming up with our recommendations.
Right.
Absolutely.
Okay,
Absolutely.
So, Chris, once you hop off, what I'll do is well, no, I don't even have to lock the meeting.
So,
I'll hop
Chris,
off and if anybody, well, somebody could jump back on, but you could set up a separate room and just drop them all into that room. Oh, actually, no, you just turn it off
We
because
still
nobody
want,
else is on the Zoom.
we
Still want recording, and I still want to be able to project it up to the screen.
yeah,
if I
so
need
we're
to.
gonna leave it on and that way the recording's still there. And then if they need questions, they'll just contact.
Yeah, we'll text Chris and say, jump back on, or are you
Or-
at home?
Yeah, I'll be at home.
Okay.
And I can log in and shut
are
it
you
off
okay
from
to
home.
stand by, Chris, in case we have questions for you?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'll just be here.
Okay, we
thank you,
appreciate
Chris.
you, thank you.
No, you're fine. Just want to hear the vote.
I know.
So,
No, I mean the vote of going to the executive session.
a vote on what, Chris?
Just make a motion to go into closed session.
Okay, I will make a motion to go to closed session.
Okay, second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Yeah, it is a roll call vote, just so you know.
Oh, call him by name.
Bye, Tim.
Aye, Mike.
Hi, Aaron.
Okay, we'll see you guys.
Bye.
texted Chris, Janet, Jody, Mike, Tim, the whole group.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I just responded to that same group. The group was already built. I made the easy one to just text that group.
Oh, yep, now I need to fix it.
Is that on still?
Turn your microphones on.
But
Is
do you
the
want to turn the
recorder
tape?
still on?
Oh, yeah, sorry, how do you turn it off? There you go. Off. I'm like, how do you turn it off? Eh,
So
it's
does Chris have to be accepted or will he just jump on here?
on. He should jump on.
I would imagine that they have admin rights to jump in and out all they want.
We'll wait for Chris before we
I can try and call him.
get
too.
back into our public session.
Yeah, it's okay. Nobody else is on, so.
Sorry, this is going longer than I anticipated. I told you it'd be a short one.
I knew it
I
wouldn't
didn't
be,
think it would be.
because I knew it was kind of a big deal.
I just have to pick up my daughter at 9 o'clock.
We're almost done. I'm calling him.
I appreciate your work on this.
Yeah, do you want to
I
jump
really-
back on?
I really do. Is Ted here?
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, I just resumed it.
Meeting's locked by a host. That's the problem. Jody locked it.
Oh. Okay, try again. I just push buttons that I kind of supposed to.
Okay, there's Chris.
There you are.
Bye.
Chris, thank you for your dedication.
No, you're fine. Janet, did you stop the recording and start it again, or did it just never start?
We stopped it before, and then I just started it again.
Perfect. Okay. Sorry about that, Mike. Just want to make sure we're getting all the T's crossed, I's dotted.
Well, I think we have voted in the last meeting to go ahead and open this session back into the public session. So, Chris, I'm going to let Aaron explain our,
Do we want Ted to come join us for this?
Oh,
or is
yes.
Ted just gonna be part of the?
He wanted to hear, but he was in the middle of.
Ted would be welcome to come in.
Yeah, he's still going. Maybe you just tell him, just kind of go ahead and start. We can fill him in.
Well, can't he watch the recording too?
Yeah, he could. Yeah.
There he is.
Oh, there he is. Hey,
Next step.
I know, I'm sorry. I just thought maybe you'd want to start to hear the whole thing.
And real quick, Mike, if I may, for the public record, I was mistaken. Ted is not on an HSA. Just want to get that on the public record, and I apologize for being so strong on that one.
Making that clear. So Aaron has done a tremendous amount of work on these plans and I think we've got what we're going to be recommending to the city council. You want to go ahead and take that from there, Aaron? and
Yeah.
Talk about it.
So, as we looked at the various options, we've got Select Health, United Healthcare, Aetna, and PEHP are the ones that all make sense in one way or another financially, but there's some downsides to each of those. Select Health, rates their plans based on ages and number of dependents and the ages of those dependents.
Oh man, so me, Chris, and Toby are all kind of in a. We're aging out, man. So no wonder it's so expensive.
So
You're still a kid, Ted.
and
Yeah.
United
don't feel
Healthcare
like
and
it.
Aetna rates the plans based on health questionnaires. So each employee would have to fill out a questionnaire on their whole family on how much, what their health conditions are of their family. And specifically on the United one, the agent told us if there are family members that are high risk because they have some health conditions, we would just exclude them from the benefit so they wouldn't be covered. We're like, wait a minute. So if I've got a child who has a disease or a spouse who has just a chronic condition that they're facing, then you're just going to say they're not covered. That's okay. No, that doesn't make sense. We don't want to do that.
I thought
Or-
AC did away with that.
Yeah. Or it would at least jack the prices up. And they all said these prices are subject to health questionnaires. And we know that there are some employees in the city who either they themselves or their family members have some health conditions. And I named off some ones that I was potentially aware of, or I just made up, like, what about a cancer or what about something else? And they said, oh yeah, that would kick them out or jack the rates up way beyond what these currently are. So it made all of those plans that looked like they might be less expensive for the city, not really, because those rates are just in a perfect situation. If you had perfect health employees, that's how cheap it could get. But as soon as you get into a situation, then those aren't realistic. So we
Okay.
definitely want to do any of those. So the one that made the most sense was for us to do the PEHP. As we look at that, now I'm trying to figure out,
Can you pull that up on the screen, Aaron?
well, Chris,
It's right down there. We switched it. Can you do the show present or up in the, there should be where you can, well, the screen's being
here
shared.
we
Go
go,
down
show
here.
meeting.
It's got to be
On my screen, it's the rates.
speaker or something like that on your screen, Aaron, or
It's
it's
not on ours.
show presenter or something like that.
We're seeing you, Chris.
Yeah, no, sorry about that. I just just click stop and reshare it.
Can you maybe,
There should be at the top corner. Is this Zoom?
yeah.
Oh, you know what? It's not. It's all, but it's on the computer back
I'm
here.
just going to stop sharing and now try resharing because it was working when I was
It
just
was working
initially
before.
sharing.
See, it's popping up down there. It's got to be on the.
On that little box.
I can see it again now.
Which
But-
buttons are,
Yeah.
I'll kill the whole
The
meeting.
issue is that you
But-
are on the screen for us, Chris, rather than.
Oh, your view. So look at your view. If you hit your view button on that back Polycom,
Oh,
that back little controller, Ted, and then it'll give you options to view it.
Got it.
thank you, Jody.
Thank you for
You're
saving us.
welcome.
Okay, so PEHP, the nice thing about PEHP is PEHP doesn't have any individual rating. It's all just the local government risk pool. That's what LGRP stands for. That's not large group. That's what I was initially thinking. It's just, this is a local government entity and the risk pool of how much local government employees typically cost as far as healthcare costs go. So they have traditional plans and then they have high deductible health plans. And we're recommending that a high deductible health plan is going to be the best option for it. And I'll walk you through which ones we're looking at. So looking at the plan design, the current plan design, let me come back to here. The current plan design is a 80-20 traditional plan with a $750 individual deductible and a $2,250 family deductible with an out-of-pocket maximum of $8,500 for the individual and $17,000 for the family. So these are the premiums that the city is currently paying. When we add all the premiums together and divide it by 3, we get an average cost. Because the way that Select Health is currently rating us is they have an individual price for each employee based on their family members and age bands. But PEHP just gives us one rate regardless. If you're on a family plan, we don't care if you have 16 kids or you just have 3 people in your family, it's all the same cost regardless of the ages. So we like that because it takes out any cherry picking or favoritism of, oh, this person's getting more or less than the other. Everybody costs the same. So we like that. So as we look at trying to make a plan design that's relatively equivalent, we like the high deductible plans because it gives some advantages to the employees. But we need to make sure that the dollars also make sense. So as we look at it, there are two different plans here that have a 20% coinsurance. There is a $1,650 deductible, or option 5 is the other one we're looking at, is a $3,000 deductible. So I'm comparing these two different options as our benchmarks. So looking at that, the individual deductible is $1,650 and the family deductible is $3,300. And then the out-of-pocket max is $3,300 and $6,600. And this is where one of the really nice features is currently the Select Health Plan. Although it's only got a $2,250 family deductible, it's got a $17,000 maximum out-of-pocket. So if you get a family member that's in a bad critical accident or something like that, then you're on the hook all the way up to $17,000. Whereas under these plans, you would either stop at $6,600 or $12,000. So you got less exposure to critical accidents or bad continuing chronic conditions. So what we would propose doing is the premiums are cheaper if we go with these plans. You can see here it'd be $1,872 versus the average renewal rate with Select Health is going to be $2,500. So we'll save significantly there, or we'll even save money here. So this would be our annual premiums for these two plans. If we just take the monthly premium and multiply it by 12, but then we would multiply this by 3 for the city's total cost. So you can see we would save per employee $4,200 or $7,300 doing it this way. But you as the employee say, well, wait a minute, this is all well and good that the city's saving money, but this is costing me more money because now I've got a higher deductible. So the way that we make up for that is we say, well, let's fund some of your health savings account on your behalf so that you have money to pay for those out-of-pocket costs. So what we're going to recommend to the city council is that the city employees are currently paid on a biweekly basis every 2 weeks, so 26 pay periods per year. So we would put $100 per pay period into a health savings account for the employee. So with that, although the employee has a $3,000 deductible, $2,600 was given to them towards that health savings account. So really, they only have $400 out of pocket that they may have to have rather than $750. So they're actually money ahead in this situation. And with that $2,600, if they had a good health year and didn't spend any of it, then that's their money to keep, and it just can build and grow and invest. HSAs are really nice because of the tax benefits, where it's a triple tax benefit, going in tax-free, growing tax-free, and coming out tax-free as well. So the high deductible health plans paired with an HSA make a lot of sense. So if we continue down the math through that, now we've added $2,600 on top of the $2,200, so we get $25,000. So the city ends up saying $4,700 rather than $7,300. I got my signs backwards where I did my subtraction and plus, but it's the same thing. So overall, the city would save 16% by doing it this way. Now, admittedly, it makes the employee better off on the individual deductible plan because I've got $2,600, so $400 exposure compared to $750. But on the family deductible, now my deductible is $6,000 rather than $2,250. So I've got $2,600 towards it. So it's really $3,400 I'm exposed rather than $2,250. So the difference is $1,150. So the employee is exposed on the family deductible by $1,150. But they also have the protection on the top end where rather than having a maximum out of pocket of $17,000, the maximum pocket is only $12,000. So they're protected on the top end by $5,000. They know they're saving by $400 on the low end. And there's a little bit of a donut hole, if you will, here where there's some potential risk for the first year of possibly having to spend $1,150 more. But you have the risk reward of saving yourselves 5,000 on the top end. So as we look at all that, we think that this kind of makes the most sense. The city saves the most money. The employee gets more money in their HSA that can be therefore more able to invest and grow over time. And the employee is better off if there's only one family member that's having health costs, and they're better off by $350. So that's how we would recommend doing it. Now, one key piece to this, though, is that all of this is built off of the Mountain Star network. So you had to have access to Mountain View Hospital, Timpanogos, and so on and so forth with all the Mountain Star networks. And that is illustrated in the PEHP documents here. Here we go. So here are the respective participating hospitals. The physicians are going to be almost identical. It's really just the facilities that there makes a difference between the two. But the premiums for so the Advantage is the Intermountain network. The Summit is the Mountain Star network. And then there is a combined, if you wanted to have access to both networks, then you could get the Advantage Summit combined thing. So what we're proposing is we go with the Summit network, but if an employee wants to have access to the Intermountain network, they can buy up the difference to that. So as we're looking at the HSA Star Option 5, you can see it's $1,872 versus HSA Star Option 5 is $2,125. So as we do the math difference here, so the $2,125 versus the $1,872, the annual premium for this would be 12 times that. So it's $25,000 as opposed to 22,000. So if you subtract those two numbers on an annual basis, it would cost an employee to have access to the Intermountain network an additional $3,000. But remember, the employee got $2,600 in their HSA. They can't use their HSA dollars to pay the premiums on their health plan. But as soon as 1 year goes that they save that money continues to be theirs, and they've got that difference. So the net difference to the family is really only $400 to have access to the Intermountain network, if they feel that the Intermountain network to them is worth it. If they're happy with the Mountain Star network, then that's how they can have the cheapest overall financial picture. Now, Chris, specifically on Hawaii, we asked them what it would be like in Hawaii with these networks, because obviously neither Intermountain nor Mountain Star in Hawaii. They said for emergency and for urgent care, those will cost the exact same as what it would be in Utah. If you go for routine care in Hawaii, then you have to go to a PEHP network provider in Hawaii. But given that you are typically accessing routine care when you're in Utah, then you would just access it through whichever facility you want to based on the plan that you want to access. But you still have coverage in Hawaii or anywhere else in the country where any of you are. If you're on a conference or on family vacation, whatever, they've got a nationwide network for emergency and urgent care that's the equivalent of being in Utah.
So my home base is St. George. This insurance wouldn't work in St. George with that. And my home base has been St. George for 4 years. So if I was still in St. George, I would need to be on the Advantage plan because the hospital down there is not covered.
Offer both options, and the employee will have their paycheck will cover 100% of the premium of the Summit network. And if they want access to the Advantage network, they would just pay extra for that access to the Advantage network, and they would be on the Advantage plan. And it would cost them $3,000 a year more, but it would be $2,600 contributed from the family budget standpoint. So it's really only about $400 difference to have.
So Aaron, everything you're talking about here is great, except I don't think we're taking consideration. Let's say Ted gets cancer 1 year and his wife has a couple surgeries and they meet their 12,000 out of pocket. That blows a lot of your theory that you've been going through for the past 10 minutes out the window. So on the other side, we need to look at, okay, if it's $12,000 out of pocket, everything you talked about is not as rosy as been presented. Another option to look at also is to take the lower HSA one and not maybe give the employees the $1,300 and see what the kind of savings the city would still have on that one.
Does have a catastrophic situation like a cancer, they would be $17,000 on the current Select Health plan. We're actually reducing their out-of-pocket exposure by moving to the PEHP plan because the out-of-pocket's lower.
True, but on the other plan, it is a copay based plan, so you're not getting to that 17,000 as quick as you are on this other plan.
Well, it's a copay for office visits, but for everything outside of office visits, it's a co-insurance, and the 80/20 is the co-insurance, and that's the same in all three plan designs we're looking at.
Okay. What obviously I'm gonna have a problem with having to pay a little bit extra because I'm just gonna base everything out of St. George because that's where I've been and the city's known. I've been there for 5 years. And I know Toby likes the IHC network, and I think Ted, you like the HCA, is that correct? Like Payson Hospital and Timpview.
Mountain View
Yeah, Mountain View.
Star.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I honestly, I don't think we've been to a hospital in, I can't remember the last time we ever went to a hospital. We never reach our deductibles. I mean, reaching office visits is all we've ever really done for as long as I remember. But
And like Aaron said earlier, for the local employees, apply to Chris, the doctor network for both Advantage and Summit is basically the same.
Yeah. And
Right.
even
If you break your arm and you're outside, you're 4 hours from HC hospital, or you need to go have an appendectomy, you got to get to a hospital that's HCA compatible.
emergency services are always covered under all networks.
But they can backbill you they don't have to follow the contracted rates. And you can sit there and fight the insurance company trying to get the contracted rates.
Now, if you stay in an inpatient situation, that's true, but the emergency room, you do not.
But an appendectomy won't be done in the ER.
You would be stabilized, but that's where if you know that you're going to access primarily the Intermountain network, then you just get on the Advantage plan and
Mhm.
that way.
Yep.
so of these, which two are you, the number 2 and the number 5? Is that, do you guys have a leaning towards that way or?
So as we were looking at it, we actually think that it will be better off for the employee having more HSA funding going into their HSA. So we actually like the city saves money and the employee gets more money and the protection is still good. So we actually like the option number 5 best.
Now, is this still like for, I want to say subscriptions?
Prescription.
Yeah.
Prescriptions.
Or no, yeah. Does this still cover the same as what like Select Health does for prescriptions and
Yeah,
office
so-
visits and that kind of stuff?
Here is the copay, or here is the pharmacy benefit plan. They default everything to this column C plan design. They say that they can increase it. It's down here. There's another page in here where it shows it will cost X amount more if you go up this way or X amount less if you go down that way, but everything is built based upon this schedule here.
Aaron, I thought HSA or health savings plans could not have first dollar benefits. And that's why they're an HSA. I don't believe there's a prescription card unless laws have changed. I don't believe first dollar benefits are an option on health savings account plans. You got to meet your $1,650 or $3,000 deductible out of pocket first before you get benefits for anything except for physicals, mammograms, pap smears, and those kind of things. Otherwise, it's 100% out of pocket till you reach your deductible.
Also preventive medications that they have tier 1. So for example, I'm on a high deductible health plan. I get my insulin for $7 for a 90-day supply because it's a tier 1 medication. Even though I'm on a high deductible plan, I only paid $7. It was just a fixed copay. Now, if I get a different medication, then it is subject to the deductible. but there are chronic maintenance meds and preventive meds that are even $0. So one of my medications, I pay 0 on it, even though I'm on a high deductible.
Could you
Yeah.
go back to the other screen with the matrix on it with the different plans of the 20%?
I'm-
Sprawling one's
Chris, I'm on
thyroid.
PEHP. Um,
Which
has-
one?
and we're on the summit and my prescriptions are usually $5.
That's what I'm paying now for the two I have, $5 a prescription.
So the laws must have changed because before you would not be able to get any first dollar benefits on an HSA plan. And that was part of the reason. Yeah, we were just on HSA with Select Health and that was absolutely not the way it was on that one. Sorry, I'm just trying to find my notes here.
So I've got to go pick my daughter up at 9 o'clock.
But if you go through like WebRx and all these discount ones, I mean, I was on Aetna and our insurance, our prescriptions stunk and it is horrible. But I can go on there and I can still get, $15 medication for like my diabetes, my high blood pressure, my statin, all those I can still get on there and it's like $15 each.
You're on as many as me, Joey.
That was only 3 of them. I can name the other ones, but I just
So I can leave my computer connected, and if Jenny, if you want to jump over and navigate to continue the discussion, I can try and jump on the phone while I drive down to get my daughter. If you want to continue the discussion, but I've just got to take.
I mean, I
I'm
think
what-
as a committee, we're good.
Is there any way you can send this spreadsheet to me?
Absolutely.
I just want, because my wife does all our healthcare stuff. So
Yeah, if you could just, I don't think you need to leave your computer. I mean, I could bring it to you if you want, but why don't we
Well, I'm
just,
going to go down and come right back up.
okay.
Well, I think we're good. If that's what you're going to recommend to the mayor, just know I'm going to push back. But I don't think on the smaller deductible plan, I think you could get away. I think there's a way to massage it to the city. I mean, the city's still making money on the other plan, but I think there's a way the city can make more money on the plan and still benefit the employee. And so the HSA is a great way to go. I think that's best money for the dollar. PHP is a great company. They're not doing age banded rates. That's awesome also because that saves the city a lot of money. But it's not as rosy as you're painting it, Aaron, especially if you have 1 year a bad year or 2 years bad years where you're trying to build up your HSA, you actually get put in the hole, and it's not pretty. So 6,600 out of pocket is way better than 12,000 out of pocket, or 2 years 24,000 out of pocket. That can sting.
is that Chris, what your concern is between number 2 and number 5, the selection there? You're
Yes.
okay with PEHP and you're
Yep.
okay with HSA and all that? You're just number 2 versus number 5.
Yeah, number 2 versus number 5, and then the network is the other thing.
Want to be sensitive to Aaron's,
Yeah.
his daughter. So I think the committee has felt really good about those 2 proposals that Aaron has
There's
presented.
a lot of great work on them. I think.
And
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
would recommend that those are pushed to the city council, and Aaron has agreed to go in and present those.
What date is that will be
Tuesday.
presenting that?
It's
Tuesday night.
Available.
If you can send me that spreadsheet too,
Oh,
Aaron,
no.
that'd be great.
I know. Oh, no. Okay, that's the following Tuesday. I'm like,
Yeah.
I've got a commitment that Tuesday night.
Tuesday night.
Yep.
So it's Tuesday
Tuesday
at
the
what,
11th, I'm
at
good.
what time?
Oh,
6?
6.
6 o'clock.
Maybe Jody, we can get this first on the agenda so they don't have to wait around all night.
And I will plan to be there too in that meeting.
You would like me to be there?
Yeah,
I can
Tim,
be
if you
there.
could.
I think I'm free.
I think it's an important meeting to be to.
I may or may not be there. I'm still trying to decide. I'm
Well, Ted's gonna be there. That's not an option. The only thing we've got is we do have Senator McCall coming. But I will let his office know that we'll work with him at 6:30. So if we can put you on from 6 to 6:30, would that
Okay.
work?
saying this is
That's
gonna be a
how
long
we,
meeting.
Advantage ourselves over ambulance chasers.
So I will make a motion.
Yeah.
And I think this needs to be put into a motion. I'll make a motion that we allow Aaron to present to the city council on Tuesday night. Don't know what the date is on that, but
The 11th.
this Tuesday, 11th at 6 PM. We'll all plan to attend that meeting, and he'll present what he's presented to us tonight and we've agreed upon.
I'll
All
second that motion.
all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
You better say your names. Do you have to say your name?
No.
Okay. Okay.
No roll call on this one.
Motion to adjourn?
Motion,
Did you just do that?
I will make a motion to adjourn.
Okay,
Second.
meeting's adjourned. I'll turn it off.
And
Hey, thank you guys.
Date for a meeting, but we'll get to that later.
Yeah, we'll do that later.
Yes, thank you.
We'll see ya.
Thanks, Chris.
Bye. Have a great night.